Mr. Lim Biow Chuan.
Mr. Speaker, I have a large proportion of senior residents staying in public housing within Mountbatten. Over the years that I serve as their MP, I see more and more of them using wheelchairs and relying on walking sticks to aid their mobility. As they age, they also require more medical care. The Pioneer Generation Package, introduced in 2014, provided great financial relief for many of these senior citizens as it helped reduce their healthcare costs. Over these past years, I have met Singaporeans who express appreciation for the healthcare-related subsidies which they receive due to their PG status. Some of them may not realize it when they receive the PG card. However, when they are hospitalized, the benefits of being a PG is much clearer. For that reason, I strongly support the Merdeka package announced in this budget. I acknowledge that it is not on the same scale as the Pioneer Generation package, but it does cost 6.1 billion and financed from the past savings of this government, and does not impose a burden on other governments, on the future government. It will certainly help the next generation of seniors cope with healthcare costs. I'm also glad to note that the benefits of the Merdeka Generation Package is extended to all citizens born within the 1950s, regardless of their home type. Healthcare costs will always be a concern for our citizens, regardless of home types, and the Merdeka Package will provide greater assurance to our citizens. It also shows the appreciation of this government for the generation of Singaporeans who have helped build Singapore up. As with every budget, we would never be able to please everyone. There will always be economists, academics, and other well-meaning Singaporeans who will call on the government to spend more on other things. The challenge is who? Who will pay for all these extras? Are we prepared for a much higher tax? Or will all these extras be sustainable in the long term? Will Singapore end up like some other countries which are struggling to balance their budget or are on the brink of bankruptcy? What should be the core business of the government? To me, it must be to provide all Singaporeans a safe living environment, to ensure that healthcare remains affordable, that every Singaporean has access to good quality education, that we continue to grow the economy and create good jobs for Singaporeans, that our public transport system allow our citizens to travel within the country in a convenient and reliable manner, and that public housing is accessible and affordable. Every Singaporean, regardless of our starting point, should have equal opportunities to do well in life. Although there are areas where we can improve upon, I support the efforts of this government to ensure that the basic needs of all citizens are met. And this includes the need to spend more on defense and security, as we need to be able to stand up to unfriendly forces. In fact, a strong defense force will be the main deterrent to any hostile activities. I also support the increase in spending to deal with different security threats. The state-sponsored cyber attack on SingHealth IT system is a strong reminder to all of us on the need to strengthen our IT security measures against those who wish Singapore to fail. Even countries like Germany and Australia were recently subject to attacks on their IT network system. I have 3 points for the government's consideration. In my previous speeches, I had advocated that the government should have policies which should help those in need and at the same time be fair to citizens who have contributed to build Singapore. So I urge the government to do away with the distribution of budget benefits based on home types, but instead base it on income. If a citizen is a retiree with no income but staying in a private property, why should he get less GST vouchers than someone who earns a lot more but stay in a 3 or 4 room HDB flat? Why should someone without any income not enjoy the benefits of the bicentennial bonus simply because his home has an annual value of more than 21,000? This is unfair to the Singaporeans who had contributed to Singapore but had pursued their dreams of staying in a better home when they were younger. I also call on the government to consider a change in its policies to allow elderly singles to rent a flat alone. During my MPS, I regularly receive requests from elderly seniors who for some reason cannot get along with their family members or their children. They quarrel frequently and want to shift out so that they can preserve their dignity and not stay in an unhappy home. However, they have nowhere to move to. Much as we wish to encourage the families to look after their seniors, the reality is that relationship issues are not easily resolved. I'm of the view that we should not compel an elderly person to stay with the family when he or she is clearly estranged from the family. Can the government consider better support for our seniors by allowing them to rent a one-room flat on a case-by-case basis? And this will allow some of them to live in dignity in their retirement years instead of living in a hostile environment. Finally, I urge the government to consider changes in policy on seller stamp duties. Last month, I filed a question to ask whether the government can waive stamp duty for sellers in an en bloc sale if they did not agree to the sale of the property. The government declined to do so. And with respect, I feel that this is unfair. The government should not impose a tax on owners of property when they are unwilling sellers of their property during an en bloc sale. They are forced to sell the property due to the nature of the en bloc sale. Why should they be penalized? And a review of this policy should be considered. In the budget, the government plans for the future of Singapore, and I am grateful for the many considered decisions of the government. However, government must also set out policies which are seen to be fair and kinder to our citizens. Mr. Speaker, sir, I support the budget.